All right. It's been a while since the last episode. I've really just been coming with a lot of ideas. A lot of ideas of what I want to do for future episodes, but you know what? We're going to focus on the now. And with that being said, I want to thank anybody who's even been sticking with me. Maybe like the one or two people that I only have like one or two people that listen to this right now. But it's a growing process. So we're going to keep doing this, and I'm going to tap into a lot more people, I feel like. So we're going to keep on going with this podcast. Thanks to anybody that's going to listen, and enjoy this next episode of A Dose of Animation. Okay. All right. This is a really interesting topic that I've kind of been thinking about for maybe at least 2 weeks, tops. I've had it in my mind, and I've even written it down a little bit. I didn't know how to formulate it at all. So I basically have most of my points down by now, and I'm going to be mentioning them. So this episode, we're going to be talking about freedom of expression and little censorship. We're going to be talking about a lot of big companies making splashes in animation. And we're going to be talking about animation thriving in a coronavirus world. That's a really important one, so we'll get to that. That's probably going to be the most interesting topic for sure. And also funding, leading to having top industry talent. Right, so the first point, freedom of expression and little censorship. I think for me, what this really boils down to is the broadcasting networks versus streaming services. From my friend circle to acquaintances to family to just random people outside that I talk to online or in person, I always seem the mention of like, oh, have you seen the new Netflix show? Or, are you subscribed to Hulu and all that? It's never really, oh, have you seen this new show on ABC? Or it's not really anything like that anymore. And it shows that the streaming services are gaining a strong foothold over what the consumer is viewing. And I do think that we're really starting to see a lot of these things. There was a recent survey around March of last year. It was by a consulting firm named Deloitte, who found that 69% of consumers pay for some type of internet video streaming services. And if you look at the time of maybe 2009, there was only like 10% of consumers that were subscribed to internet video services. So you can see the big jump from that time to the point that we're at now. And this is where the animation side, the animation world is trying to get on. They're trying to get on this big wave of all these streaming services coming out and having the promotion to really put their stuff out there, because a lot of people are using these services, and that's a really important thing. And honestly, the freedom of expression and very little censorship is something that these streaming services have a lot more over broadcasting networks. Just gonna throw out one of the examples, Alex Hirsch, who is the creator of Gravity Falls. He's had a lot of kinds of back and forths with the Disney, I guess censorship team is what he called it. He had a lot of back and forth with them because they were just so restrictive on a lot of things. There was a lot of nitpicking, a lot of things where they would think that there was hidden meaning in certain things, or like, adult jokes like cartoons usually have. He had a lot of back and forth with them because there was just a lot of unfairness with the way that they were nitpicking and saying, oh, you have to take this out, or this looks like this. I just really don't think that's fair at all. Another thing he actually also talked about was how if you went even a second or two over what the limit of an episode was supposed to be, you would have to find some kind of content to cut from that episode. Just that 1 or 2 second, because I guess, you have to think about commercial breaks and all that, and the time limit and your time slot on the network. That's another thing that's very restrictive. You have to think about all that. And sometimes that takes away from the creative process because you have to take away things that you might not want to. And when it comes to streaming services, you don't really have that kind of restriction, because look at most of the Netflix originals that are out there. A lot of them are 45 minutes. And he actually went into detail about that there's just so much more content that you could put in. There's no commercial breaks. There's a longer runtime. And one more important thing is that he said, even if your show doesn't do well, you're not going to get a second season. It's not going to happen. But the thing is, that show it doesn't go anywhere. It's not like a TV broadcast where, oh, you're out, you're out of the time slot. Nobody's ever gonna see this show again because it just didn't do well. But on Netflix or any other streaming service, you don't really have that kind of worry because that show's not going anywhere. It's not gonna get picked up for a second season, but it always has that potential to gain an audience again and gain a lot of traction so that it can then have another second season or third season or whatever it might be on. That's another good point with streaming services. It just has that nice, I guess you could say, kind of a cushion to fall back on, basically. If nothing or something doesn't work out with your show or whatever, you have that cushion there to kind of support you. That's seriously the beauty of what these streaming services can offer. And I'm excited for it too, because that just means more content for all of us, really. All the animation fans, whether you watch anime or Western animated stuff, it just unlocks unlimited potential because you're not shackled by the broadcasting networks and what they want and the way that they restrict you. You're not shackled by that anymore. So I think that's a really important thing for any content creator out there. It's a really exciting thing, and I hope to see the fruits of it even more than we have now. And this segues beautifully into my next point. And you could tell a lot of companies agree with this prospect of streaming services. Look at Disney. They made Disney Plus, and that's, it's obviously a beginning phase for them, but they already have a lot of content out there. A lot of the content from their networks are going to there, and the full library of all the animated films they ever made. Then, of course, you have Netflix. They're doing what they always do, which is spending money on creators, trying to get more original stuff onto the streaming service. And it's been a lot of animated stuff. They import a lot of stuff from Japan, the animes. I think that actually makes Netflix a lot more attractive because I noticed a lot more people that grow up with cartoons, they end up getting into anime. Some still kind of stay in between those two. But that's the thing. Netflix offers those. Disney Plus does not offer stuff in that kind of category, like the anime and stuff from Japan. So I think Netflix has that edge up. But like I said, it's all original stuff, and they have that advantage, and they're pretty much leveraging it to the fullest potential that they can. It's the next generation of animation, and I'm like so excited for it. Honestly, you have even other streaming services up and coming too, like HBO Max. They actually, I think they had a panel with Cartoon Network recently, because they've been kind of in bed with together, kind of like they released Adventure Time Distant Lands. That was one of their stuff that they put on HBO Max. And they have Looney Tunes. Man, they have a lot actually. So I'll be surprised to see where they end up. They're gonna have a pretty big library of animated stuff. So I'll definitely be looking out for that service for sure. I actually wonder if they are going to have any kind of anime on HBO Max. Or I wonder if they already do. I'm not subscribed to them yet. I might, just to check out their catalog and what they have. So it's interesting for sure. Like all these companies coming up. So competition, really good. So as we transition away from the business side of animation and basically broadcasting in general and streaming, I want to talk about how COVID-19 plays a role in the production of media. And by that, I mean how animation has been actually thriving during the COVID-19 virus. So when you think about Hollywood production and live action, that kind of setting, it's just not really possible to do while maintaining social distancing and the guidelines that we've been given. Maintaining 6 feet distance and masks. You can't really do all that in live action. You have to be in character. You can't have fucking a Joker wearing a mask or something. I mean, unless it fits with the story or whatever. But just an example out there, you have to stick to those guidelines. There might even be scenes where people are kissing, or maybe there's a close action fight scene. It's just not possible, But that's where animation comes in. You see, animation, you don't really have to be in a close, tight setting unless it's a meeting or you're just trying to get ideas. You have like a room where it's just a meeting, you're gathering ideas, or you're showing a storyboarded sequence or something for the first time. Sure, but during the production of animation, a lot of people have their own animation setups at home. Stuff where they can draw on their tablets, they can go over storyboards. They have a lot of that stuff at their own house. Even the voice actors, they have their own voice acting booth, their own mic, their own computer, the software. A lot of them have that kind of stuff. So that's why it's easier for them to work on stuff while they're at home. And it's because that they're able to do all of that they're able to actually work on schedule. They're not late to deadlines or any of that. And there's animation companies that are actually hiring. I have an article here by Deadline that kind of goes around the horn with some of the companies. They kind of go around and just talk about what some of the companies said. We have here Disney said on a statement to Deadline. Deadline.com, that's where the article is. And you guys could look at this for yourself. The article is animation production is still going, sometimes slower, amid a coronavirus crisis. So Disney said to them, Disney Television Animation is fully functioning with the team successfully working on a remote basis, the company said in a statement to Deadline. It took a few days to smooth some wrinkles, but with strong studio leadership, the team of animation pros, and support from IT and HR, the animation and editing is on schedule. Which is honestly a really great thing for animation fans to hear, because it means that we get to see a lot more stuff coming out of the pipeline. I don't know why I just stopped. So there's other stuff too. Bento Box Productions, including, like Bob's Burgers and stuff like that. It's a Fox-owned studio. They're actually hiring. As I was saying earlier, that companies are hiring. They're one of the people amid the coronavirus related layoffs that are actually really hiring. That's really great, because that means people are having jobs too amidst all of this. That's really a great thing. Not only that, but even applications that some of the animators, not some, but most animators use, they trying to keep the industry going. They're trying to do that. And Toon Boom, used by many shows to storyboard, they actually granted free licenses to artists for a month, which just goes to show how everybody's really trying to work together to keep all of this going. Now, this doesn't mean, it's not like everything is also moving flawlessly. There are gonna be some sort of bumps. There's some talks of shows that they, instead of releasing like an episode every week, they have been talking about releasing an episode every 2 weeks and whatnot. And that's just to ease the new lifestyle of the way everyone's working, especially in animation. It's just working from home, it's to kind of ease into that. Everybody's working remotely. So that's kind of the symptom of all this. And so, hey, look, I think that's a really good trade-off though. I mean, every 2 weeks, but if you're able to hit your deadline on schedule and on time, I mean, that's pretty good trade-off, and you're getting extra time to work on stuff. So I mean, not much can complain about that. Not only that, but things also do just kind of move a little slowly. Definitely a lot more slower than it would be if it was in person, talking to the directors and such. One of the animation producers explained to Deadline, I'm gonna quote this. It says, "With the way things are now, this has taken a lot longer, and we lost some of the ability to screen together, which also slows things down. Usually you have everyone working together in a studio with the director, and the review and revisions got from person A to person B quite quickly." So there is definitely that, but again, that's a much better trade-off than what the TV production industry has going on, which is essentially just stopped, especially in recent weeks and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, that's just how it is, and I'm glad animation's pulling through. As a lover of animation, I love animation, so I'm really glad to hear that it's pulling through and everybody's making the thing that they need to do work. Everybody has their own roles and whatnot, so I'm really glad about that. I hope it keeps going, because that's just really the best thing. That's the most thing I've been looking forward to as well. Just some other problems too that the article mentions is kind of file sizes, especially with the type of production that you might be working on. If it's a TV series, maybe like a quick 12-minute episode, 24-minute type of episode. But then you also have the problem with file sizes that are much bigger than that. If you're working on like maybe a 45-minute to an hour type of animated thing, either it's an episode or a film or whatnot, that could also be a problem. But that's just one of the other problems that they mentioned. I mentioned like mainly the big one, which is not actually being there at the studio. I think that's like the major one. That's the elephant in the room for sure, because you have to actually be there talking to the director, and you get stuff from other people much quicker. So like that's definitely the major one. But then there's other ones, which is file sizes, internet connection too, with speeds. How fast can you upload something? How fast can you render something? Like that's another problem for some of the people, but it's everyone's getting through. So that's like my main point from this, is that animation's pulling strong, while other industries, live action, hasn't really been that easy for them. They pretty much stopped, completely halted and whatnot. So that's really what it's been lately. Just to summarize, that animation's doing really amazing, and I think animation fans have a lot to be excited about, because despite development going, or production to say, kind of going a little bit slow, you know, it doesn't really stop the animation production. It still goes. You know, it's not like live action where you can't actually be there. You gotta socially distance and whatnot. But it's not that for animation. Animation is gonna keep going strong, and I'm really glad, because that means we're gonna get content, ongoing content. It's not like it's gonna stop or be delayed. You know, we might get it slower, but we're still getting it, and we're getting it pretty much on a regular basis. I don't think it's that much slower, but I think a lot of animation fans, including myself, we have a lot to look forward to. So that's what this episode has really been, and thank you for anybody that's made it all the way here. I mean, it's not really that long. It's not as long as the an hour long episode that I had, but you know, I'm gonna try and do like short bursts kind of episodes. The most I'll probably do from now on is maybe 30 minutes, 35 probably being the most. But you know, keep it short bursts, and something that people could listen to on the go, you know, for kind of a short amount of time. You know, it's not like an hour long episode all the time. I will do that though from time to time, you know. But yeah, thank you so much for listening, and this has been A Dose of Animation, episode 3. If you want to go to any of the music that I used in this episode, it'll be in the description, the artist's name, the link, the name of the song, and all that, and enjoy that.